I'm here with Austin and Taylor, two of the runners, the founders, El Presidente. No, not El Presidente, Vice Presidente, and the Secretary Treasurer of Heart of the Lakes Fire Summit, which is an awesome conference that I'm looking forward to attending to this year in Alexandria, Minnesota, in September. I started talking. I met Austin at a conference, and I was like, "Oh my God, amazing fire training in the state of Minnesota. This is great. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Let's talk." And so here we are. And I meet Taylor today. And it's awesome. I'm super excited for the conference. So give me the rundown, right? We'll get into who you are and why you are and how you've become who you are at some point. But let's talk conference quick before we reel it back in. How many years? Why does it exist? What was the catalyst to make it go?
Yeah, this is year number 3 this year, bringing in hot classes for the first time. Basically, it just came down to the three of us got together and we're deeply passionate about training, and we wanted to bring kind of that high level, national level speakers to our local area that just is not really available because we're far enough out from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We got an awesome Fools group there, but that we've actually partnered with on some other stuff. But we're just kind of far enough out that we don't get that stuff locally. So the three of us got together and we're like, maybe we can do this ourselves. And surprisingly, it's kind of easy to start a conference, but it's a shitload of work.
It's easy to say, let's do this. It's hard to actually make it come to fruition, I would imagine. I've thrown a conference myself or been heavily involved with the Hazmat conference, but I know very well how much work it is. But you've partnered with Fire Nuggets, right? To kind of make this thing go on, which is great. Yep. I've had Jeff on before in the past, and he's amazing. Obviously, firemanship just happened, so he's kind of on the tail of that. And pretty soon he'll be speaking this year up at Heart of the Lakes, which is super cool. Talk a little bit, like you've had some huge names in the past, but man, I think the first thing that grabbed my eye this year when I heard about the conference was the speaker lineup, which is crazy. Give me a line down of who you have coming here in 2026.
So this year we have JD Ducharme. He's just outside of Milwaukee in Western Lakes Fire District. He's actually one of our board members, but he's been a really good friend of ours for kind of since the beginning of this. We originally had Chief Ike coming up, but got notified a week or so ago that he's unable to make it this year, which is unfortunate, but kind of one of those things that we'll just get him back in the future. So we are going to have John Hall from St. Paul do a 4-hour engine lecture in place of Ike. And then Rob Ramirez doing Mayday Mindset. And Jeff Bryant doing the firefighter rescue survey, taking it to the streets. And then the hot classes, which we added for the first time this year. John Hall and the Make the Move cadre is going to come up and do an engine class. And Jeff Bryant and Brothers in Battle is going to do forcible entry.
Killer lineup. I mean, I'm a little bit biased. John's a very, very good friend of mine. I was talking to him earlier today even. And like I was saying kind of before we hopped on, I'm now in the training division. So I'm normally obviously working on the streets as a fireman. Just this last Monday, I moved to the training division, working hand in hand with John to develop and teach our engine company class for the entire fire department. We just bought all new hose, all new nozzles. We're finally ditching the old automatics and moving to a 7/8 smoothbore. And so we got to train up the 500 people on what the heck that is. And so in conjunction with that, we also are bringing live fire training back to St. Paul. We haven't had a burn building in quite some time, and now we're doing that. So yeah, me and John are like peas and carrots right now as we develop this thing. So if people aren't familiar with John, the guy is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I know someone. I know some people like distantly, but I don't know anyone personally that's more savantish in terms of his knowledge of numbers and dates and line of duty information. And the guy can just like whip stuff out. It's unbelievable when you talk to him. It's just like, how much information can I possibly soak up from a human being every time I talk to him? So anyone that's not familiar, while we will miss Ike, he is wonderful. John is a very good backfill that you guys have found, and that's going to be super awesome. I'm super excited for that. So let's go back now and talk that we have. Let's go get back to that, but I want to get back into kind of the origin stories of both of you. It's a little bit more unique as we do it with two, but that's totally fine. Let's talk fire service journey, right? I'll start with you, Austin. Like, why the fire service? Like, what was the catalyst to make you decide that burning buildings was the thing for you?
Well, it was something that definitely just kind of caught me. Living in a small town, I was like, hey, like, I want to give back. Took a little while, but I ended up getting on in Wadena, and was paid on call there for about 4 or so years. But it was just the want to give back, and it looked exciting. And of course, I went through my Fire 1 and 2 classes, and I met some of my best friends in the fire service and some phenomenal people. Nick Ledeen and Jeff Rothmeyer, like literally 4 months into being a part of a department, and just kind of hit it off with them guys and really just created a really good relationship. And they kind of really shoved me down, just that want to know more, that want to learn, that want to be better all the time. So I am very blessed that I met them as early on, because I give it to them, on why my mentality is the way it is now, and all that. So did 4 years paid on call in Wadena, Minnesota. Currently still a volunteer in Osakis. I've been down here for just over 5 years. And then just over 2 years ago, I started a career in Moorhead. Mm-hmm. So just kind of been on all realms of volunteer, paid on call, career. Like, I've seen all sides of it, and just love the job, and couldn't be more blessed to be able to do it every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing that I think people often lose. I was just talking to someone on a podcast last week about that. What is the catalyst that we lose that? At one point, you got the best phone call you've ever got in your life, and you got your offer, and then at some point, way too many of us end up forgetting how excited we were on our first day, and that passion drifts away. And when that passion drifts away, we lose our desire to push the way that we once did. And, that is the thing, to try to reinstill that passion back into people. And I think one of the best things to do it, not to make a really kind of cheesy segue, but one of the best ways to do that is to go out and go to conferences and listen to these very high level speakers. Because I tell you, man, you watch someone that has a passion for the job, it is intoxicating, and it lights it in you. And you walk away from one of these conferences, not only more knowledgeable and better off for the training, but also just like invigorated to carry that torch forward. And so I can't say enough how, if people haven't went to a conference that has national level speakers, it is just the next level to just shoot you to the moon in terms of passion for the job and knowledge. All right. So I'll toss the same thing back at you, Taylor. Why the fire service?
Yeah, and very much like all of us, I think that get into the fire service, we feel a need to serve in some way or another. I started out as a volunteer in Bloomington, Minnesota, back in 2013. Did 2 years there. They say it was the largest single city volunteer department in the nation. They're making their transition to full time now, which would have been cool if I would have stuck around, I guess, because I probably would be on that train. But some life changes brought me to Alexandria. Moved there back in 2015. It took me 3 years to get on the department. Alexandria is blessed with a number of people that want to be on the department. So like my first year I applied, they're like, hey man, we appreciate it. You're new to town. We've never had this many applicants before. So hang out if you can and come back. And so I did. Like I said, 3 years. It was 2018, 2019 when I got on. So a little over 7.5 years now. And it's been, again, it's another volunteer department. I've always had another full-time job. But now I'm self-employed on the side, or my main job. So I've got, freedom of schedule a little bit that allows me to. I'm pretty involved in some of the public education stuff that we do in our department. We do a lot of community events. I'm able to serve on a lot of those as well. So just that connection to the city that I live in was what really drew me to it. And then, I think like most of us, we're a mild adrenaline junkie. Running into a burning building when everybody else is running out is kind of really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure. I too started with the paid on call and then part-time and now full-time. I've often talked about how we have to instill in our volunteers and part-time firefighters, which make up the lion's share of the fire service. Let us not forget, right? The lion's share of the fire service does not do this, only this. I'm going to toss this back to you guys for opinion, but how do we instill it in those people that when the public calls, they don't care that you're full-time or part-time or a volunteer? They're expecting you to be a problem solver that's going to solve their emergency. And nobody's looking at the payroll to see how much your check says or whether you got a check at all. Everyone's just saying, I called 911, the fire department came. They're wearing the same uniform. They look the same. Solve my problem. Because in the part-time side, I've often heard, well, they don't expect us to do that. I mean, I actually work at a bank, or I actually work at a mechanic shop. And I couldn't disagree more. I think it's harder to be a volunteer or part-time firefighter than it is to be a career firefighter, because you're expected to have the same competency with much less time to become that competent person. So I'll toss that to you. How do we overcome that in the volunteer and part-time side to instill that burden of competency?
I would say that we, just by like upbringing and training and stuff, like some of the Fire 1 and 2 stuff that's out there is like, you start going through those classes and it's, well, this is how the book does it, but this is how we really do it. And just trying to get like more of a job realistic training ahead of time is, I think would be a big thing. More of a job skills than a test to a book or a state test that's, pretty basic. I think that would be a huge thing. I think the other thing, truthfully, is, and it suffers paid on call, volunteer, career, I don't care what you are. It's a mentality thing, and I see it on both sides, being on both sides. Like there's mentality struggles on the career side just as much as there is on the volunteer side, so building up that positive mentality and that mentality to pretty much, even if you don't think it's an emergency, if that pager goes off or the tones go off at the station, treat it as an emergency until you can prove otherwise. That's that one big thing, that mentality side of things, I think, is a big factor.
Taylor, thoughts?
Like you said, going to conferences and hearing people talk, and it just how it can say you've gotten complacent, or honestly, in my time in Bloomington, right, I was only there for 2 years, and I was so young. I was trying to get as much information as I could, but I didn't know what that looked like externally. The famous Brian Brush quote, once you get outside the four walls of your fire station, you realize the fire service has no walls. Mm-hmm. And our department in in Alexandria is fantastic. We require 12 hours of training every year from every firefighter outside our own department. So we're trying to push that mentality of go beyond our own walls, see what that means from other people. And like you said about listening to a speaker and how you find this passion that burns in you all of a sudden. It's like, wow, that really reignited something in me. And to always, continuous growth mindset, always be looking for more, never think that you're good at what you do. There's always room for improvement. And that's kind of been my mentality. And that's why we really started this Heart of the Lakes, was because we realized the value of outside speakers, and whether they're national or, regional, but bringing them in to let more people have an option to see that is really what this whole thing is about.
Mm-hmm.
I think to add on that a little bit too, Taylor, like just looking at the fire training that is provided for people that are already on departments, in my opinion, a lot of it's more base level stuff that kind of feeds to maybe a little bit less experience. I've been to some of the state schools and stuff, and I just never felt like that hunger for knowledge was being filled. And that's where myself, Taylor, and Nolan kind of had the conversation of like, let's do something. Let's do something that can feed that to the people that want the higher level of knowledge, the really experienced personnel coming in and speaking and all that. So I think that was another big factor on what kind of got the conference started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that holds back the fire service is that, everyone, like, whether I guess there's probably an outlier that genuinely doesn't care about whether they're good at their job or not. But I think that the biggest thing that holds us back is that we believe that we are very competent at our job. And then it's like, you almost have to fight this bravado or this ego that says like, I need to learn from somebody else. Cause like I have all this experience and I have all this whatever. And so what am I going to learn? Oh, I got to have some guy from New York tell me how to pull a hose. It's like, yeah, actually you probably should. Right. It's like that.
Right.
And so this thing that I've learned as I've kind of expanded my horizons, cause like in all reality, St. Paul is like the most populated fire department in the state. That doesn't necessarily mean we're the greatest fire department in the state. I'm partial to us, but we are a big fire department in Minnesota. But we are not a big fire department on a national scale. We're not at all. We're a small to mid-sized department on a national scale. And so while we kind of carry this pride around the state of Minnesota, we're very ignorant to think that we are the top of the heap. And so oftentimes I'll have to talk to my coworkers and be like, yes, I think you're great at your job, but like we can't, we're doing our best, but we should look outside of our walls to find people that are on another level. And it doesn't mean that we're not doing a great job, but it does mean that there are levels to this thing, right? A D1 athlete can look to AAA ball, which can look to the MLB. And like, there's stuff to learn at every level, but like to think that at any level you have everything locked down is lunacy. But I think that we're held back by our own egos sometimes, more so than anything, right? That we just won't look outside of our own walls. And so it results in this siloing of like, oh, this is how we've always done it. And why would we do something else? Because the fires keep going out. And, that is, I had an old training chief, tell me, and I don't know where he probably learned it from. Everything in the fire service was like, this guy said it, but he heard it from that guy who heard it from this guy. But he said like, there's never been a fire in the history of the world that didn't go out. And so like putting the fire out is not a marker for success. Like there's never been a fire that didn't go out. So we're talking about how fast can we make the fire go out? And the faster we do it is a level of competency, but just extinguishing the fire is nothing. So in that, right, how do we judge where we're at? How does an individual in the fire service know, other than just knowing from a broad scope that I need more training. I always need more training. But how does someone know where they're deficient, where they need to work? There's also 1,000 skill sets inside the fire service. How do I know where to point the gun? Any thoughts on that?
I would say a good starter to that would be just picking up on your fails in training. Where you feel that you're struggling in trainings, or even not understanding something there's enough podcasts out there, books, things like that, like digging in beyond if you don't understand something or question something, would be a good start. The training is meant to work through failures, because we don't want those failures on the fire ground if they can be prevented. So working through those failures and just being able to add to those skill sets every time you go out and train.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, and even on top of just training, I would add, even on scenes, like I've got moments in my brain where I'm like, on scene, I messed up on this one thing. I need to improve on that. So really, like, I can beat myself up about a lot of things. And one of them was that firemanship. I was talking to Ladine after Grab Lab, and, he's like, oh, how'd it go? And I said, great, except, I missed that kid in that crib. The guy bailed into the window right behind me, and he found him. And I'm like, I checked the crib. I knew it was there, and I'm beating myself up. And first thing Nick goes is, well, that's room for improvement, right? Like, we're never going to be perfect at this, but to realize that you made a mistake and that you want to get better, I think that's more than half the battle, is just to realize, hey, I need to improve on this. I made a mistake. I can do better. And then you work on it.
It's interesting you say that. I just submitted an article for Crackle today, actually, ironically, and it's very much on that topic, which is the idea that we should kind of own our mistakes, and we should wear them, and they should feel heavy, but that's okay, because that's the burden of being a fireman. And it's not to like make you feel disgraced or like a failure, but it is to keep this constant growth mindset. And I couldn't agree more with you, which is this idea that we have to be self-reflective. And it's one of the reasons that I think that the post-incident brief or the tailboard is one of the most critical things in the fire service to get correct, because that is where people can own up to their mistakes. That is where people, especially people with seniority and tenure and respect, can say, hey, I made a mistake. This is what I did. This is how I would correct it. And it empowers the rest of their culture and the rest of the people that are looking up to them to be like, oh, mistakes are okay. That's what we do. That's how we learn. And through that, the whole organization embraces this growth mindset that's often lost because everyone's so concerned with sweeping all their mistakes under the rug, more so than learning from them and just not repeating them. Right. I had a captain that used to say, every task you do, you'll fail. You'll have 1,000 mistakes in that thing. This is obviously fictional numbers, but he's saying, like, if you force a door 10,000 times, you might make a mistake 1,000 times, but you need to do that 10,000 reps so that the mistakes happen in training, not on the scene, right? It's going to happen. The more time you spend in training, the more likely that mistake's going to happen there and not when you actually need it to matter. And that is a really, like, when you think, wow, how many times can I pull a line? How many times can I force a door? You're like, well, if I'm thinking about counting against this imaginary 10,000 and like, I'm just trying to get all these reps in so that the bad stuff happens here and the good stuff happens there. It really kind of invigorates you to get out and train. So as you guys are starting gearing up, the conference is in September. What does the cycle look like on a yearly basis? Is it pretty much like, all right, we close the doors on it, it's October, and now we're starting to plan for 2027 kind of thing? Or what does that preparation cycle look like?
Well, so original like instructor lineup for some of these guys were actually locked in 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Just penciled in, like, because if we want to get the people we want to get and we want to bring them in, we want to make sure we can get on their books right away. Ike was one that we reached out to well beforehand, and of course, in a year and a half time, things change, and that's understandable. But just talking to the guys that we reach out to and just trying to line them up, like it can be over a year ahead of time that we're going to book people. Like we're going to look for booking for 27 here probably before the conference starts, just so we have things started to be locked in and things like that, because it's kind of a, all right, well, conference is done, let's take a little bit, but we're all kind of got our little things that we work on throughout the year. And then, you know, when it comes to April, May, when we're starting to kick out the flyers and the social media posts and things like that, like more work comes on others than, you know, on some than others, which it's kind of an all year thing, but it's a little bit here, a little bit there, a lot more time here, you know. It just it just depends on who it is and where we're at with just some of the lineup stuff and trying to do some extra stuff for the conference. Like we're working on building out props and stuff that the conference is going to own. One thing we'd love to do when it gets to that point and we start getting some of these props built out is being able to bring them to departments and let them use them at a very reasonable cost. You know, just, I guess the way I look at it is us trying to do our little bit to give back to the fire service.
Which is great, right? If we all give a little, right, it'll be a lot better, right? That's the goal.
Yeah.
When you look at trying to book some of these people, how are those decisions made? I mean, obviously there's a scheduling component, but are you trying to like cobble together certain skill sets to kind of round off the conference, or is it, you know, is there any thought? I imagine there's some thought to it. I'll give you some credit.
So the big thing that we have always said since day one, the first year that we were lining instructors up, is for our lecture series, we're doing 4 different topics. We don't want to leadership or, you know, things like that. So trying to pick different topics of like engine, truck, search, leadership, you know, just trying to make sure that we're picking the right things. And last year turned out awesome, because like one instructor would say something, they go through it, and then the other instructor would feed off of that. So they all kind of intertwine together. And it gives that, it kind of reiterates the information that these instructors are giving, because each instructor is feeding off of the other instructors. So I think that helps too. But the biggest thought process behind what we're doing is making sure that the classes, the lectures that we're doing are of different areas of the fire service, and we're not doubling up on one or another.
That makes a lot of sense. So do you, as you move into this hot zone, right? This is obviously probably a whole new bag of worms that you're trying to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, what do you see in terms of like the future? What do you see in terms of your hopes for this year? Obviously, you have a John's running an engine company class, and you got Jeff and the I don't know if you have other instructors come with Jeff to do with Brothers in Battle to do the hands-on stuff, but you're going to be doing forcible entrance. You got some truck work and you got some engine work. You know, what's the hope? I have to imagine that is a massive logistical component to make that all seamless.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of logistics behind it. You know, and like you said, for the future, I mean, we're kind of limited. We don't have a burn tower or anything locally. So live fire is one component that we really want to incorporate, but that's probably going to come through an acquired structure if we're able to get one in the future. You know, I know Nolan's been working on that with some local people trying to find a structure that we can use for either next year or beyond that. But there's a whole new logistical thing, like Austin said, right? We got props that we are going to build. We're going to build a hallway prop for, kind of flowing and moving. Well, that takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time on our end to put that together, and then to make it buildable, and then it's repeatable, so we can take it apart and store it. And then, as he said as well, like trying to get that out to some departments. We're trying to go beyond just our conference and provide that to other local departments. Some that either can't afford to send a guy, just it's not in their budget, or hey, if we can come in and do a training for that department, again, trying to give back as much as we can to the fire service.
So I want to boil back into some of your training prior to the conference. What has your guys' passions been? I feel like everyone has their lane, right? Everyone is like, oh, I'm into the fire service. And you're like, but I'll talk about the fire service, but this thing is the thing that I will talk your ear off about. Have you found a particular lane, either one of you, that is like your thing that you want to be annoying about, basically?
100%. 100%. And I'm going to go back to 4 months into my fire service career of meeting Ladine and Rothmeyer. That couple of days that I spent with them definitely pushed me into search. Search is one of those things that is probably my biggest passion within the fire service.
And that's a great choice. If I had to choose any specialty, that's the one that matters the most, I would argue. Argue that not everyone wants to hear it, but I do argue, even as an engine company guy, that everything is to support the search, right? That line's only is if we put the fire out, but we leave the victim, then what are we even doing here, right? No one cares about the house as much as they care about the person. So everything is to support the search. And the search is the correct answer. Not necessarily, I mean, granted, I do a lot of talking about hazmat, but despite what many people think, I don't particularly love it. I just have found a niche that I'm knowledgeable about, but I will talk your ear off about search and engines and truck work and rescue and blah. But yeah. All right, Taylor, what you got? Don't say search. She already stole search. You have to choose the second one.
Yeah. I think truck work in general has kind of been my thing. I kind of look at it like we run a kind of a quint in Alexandria. Being a volunteer, we don't have truck assignments. So we're kind of a jack of all trades. So we don't know what truck's going when in what order, depending upon what call. But the truck has kind of been my thing. It's the thing I've been most interested in. It's the coolest truck. It's the biggest. It's the most fun to drive. So, truck placement, utilizing more than just the Mastrel aerial stream is kind of something that I've been struggling with on how to teach people or get through to people on things. So truck work is kind of my thing. But like I said, it's a quint, so I'm kind of confused. So I love the nozzle too.
Yeah. Well, hey there, gang. If you could do me a favor, like the videos, subscribe if you like it. Leave a review. I guess that's important too. But follow the show on socials, share the show when you can. If you don't like it, then don't do that, I guess. But hopefully if you're listening this far into an episode, you found it to have some value. And I appreciate that. I'm trying my best. And so I appreciate you listening, and thanks for doing that. This episode is brought to you in part by Hikes Boots. You can tell a lot about a brand by the way they choose to advertise. And Hikes didn't ask me to say anything specifically. They sent me a couple pairs of boots, and they asked me to try them out. And they've been wonderful. I wear them every single day, and they have been beyond the expectations of what I wanted. The Fire Eagle Air and the Fire Eagle Extreme, both structural fire boots. One of them is a traditional pull-up boot. One is a lace-up boot, which I was a little skeptical of, but one easy to pull handle. It locks kind of around your calf and lower leg and your foot, and it's just so comfortable. It feels like like an athletic fit. Super cool. So if you want to find out more information, look it up at hikesusa.com. That's HAIXUSA.com, or check the show notes for the direct link. Rigaku! Today's episode is brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who are the folks that are perfecting the 1064 nanometer ramen longer than some of us have even been doing hazmat. And they just launched their 4th generation handheld analyzer, the Icon X, and it's built specifically for real world stuff that hazmat teams deal with on a daily basis. We're talking about dirty powders, mixed materials, dyes, colors, all the things that make other instruments throw a tantrum. And the 1064 nanometer laser means reduced fluorescence. So you get fast, reliable chemical ID in under a minute instead of staring at a blank screen, wondering what you might have done wrong. And this isn't a new platform, isn't just a new platform. It's an upgrade. Let's retry this whole thing. Rigaku. Today's episode is brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who are the folks that are perfecting the 1064 nanometer ramen longer than some of us have even been doing hazmat. And they just launched their new 4th generation handheld analyzer, the Icon X. It's built specifically for real world things that hazmat teams deal with every day. We're talking about dirty powders, mixed materials, dyes, colors, all the things that make other meters throw a tantrum. And the 1064 nanometer laser means reduced fluorescence. So you get fast, reliable chemical ID in under a minute, instead of staring at a blank screen wondering what went wrong. And this new platform isn't just an upgrade, it's a whole toolbox. It supports new accessories, including standoff analysis, so you can get answers without getting too close. And if you want an analyzer that's been evolving right alongside the hazmat world, check out Rigaku's newest ramen at rigakuanalytical.com, or check the show notes. Back to the show. All right, so we figured out your lanes. Now I want, everyone has one. What is the fire service hot take? Like, what is the thing that you're going to die on the hill of, and you don't care if other people disagree with you? Do you have one that comes to mind? No strong-willed people here. I'm shocked by this. Or maybe it's that you're not willing to say it on the podcast. That might be okay. What do you got?
And I've had this argument over and over and over, and I'm going to have this argument probably till the day I die. But searching with a hose line or searching without a hose line, that is one of those topics that is such a... It's so odd to people that you go into a structure without a hose line. And, so I've had that conversation to a lot of people, and searching without a hose line is kind of my thing. Like, that's the way we need to do it, and we need to be proficient with it, and we need to have the mentality that keeps us safe in those situations. Like, just the not getting super disoriented right away because, you bail into a window, you can't see anything, and you don't have a hose line. What are you doing? Like, just having that building construction layout, and, a lot of houses in certain areas are a lot alike. Where I work career is, I learned this real quick, but I think we have more twin homes up in Moorhead than we have anything else. Like, there's so many twin homes down there. And it's one of those things that the layouts of those are so much alike. So just understanding the building layout, building construction of your areas, and tying that back into being able to search without a line for our victims and for our citizens that we're trying to protect.
I think you're dead on. And it's funny because it is a hot take in a lot of communities. And then in others, it's like, well, how else would we do it? Why wouldn't we do it that way? It seems a lot more efficient. Yeah. And that's something I learned coming from the volunteer side. It was very much driven into you on the paid on call side that it was like, we search on a line. You need this to be able to find your way out and stuff. And then you come to St. Paul and like, never. You're either on a line or you are doing a search, and they're,
Two separate.
you
Yep.
accidentally, you're inadvertently searching by bringing the hose line in. Like if I crawl over
Yep.
someone, there you go. Right.
Right.
But
Yep.
they're almost never mixed at all. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So while it is a hot take, because I do know that some people are going to be like, but what about safety? But I think you're dead on. Well, let me dig into that one layer deeper before we get to Taylor's hot take. I'll give you a second more to think about. You grind your gears for a second. Searching away from the hose line, do you like that crew bringing a can or not bringing a can?
I would say condition dependent. 100%.
Oh, way to ride the fence. Perfect. It depends is what he gives me. All right. Well, give me.
I guess the way I look at it,
choose a
is-
side.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think this is a thing that earlier on, I was like, especially in St. Paul, we really have this definitive engine versus truck. Technically, the squad does both, but we choose which one we're going to be, right? So, but more recently, I've been thinking about this because I've been in houses that you're way ahead of the hose line, and then you're like, well, there's the fire, and you found it, and you're like, I guess I'll just keep on moving. You're like, man, if I had a water can right now, I could probably help this engine out quite a bit by like knocking this thing down a little bit. You'd be shocked. Obviously, you guys would know, but if you've never done it, you'd be shocked by how much fire you can put out with a 2.5 gallon water can. It's shocking. Like, and so lately I've been leaning more towards in this bringing a can for the primary search and, sling it over your shoulder. And I'm growing more and more fond of it the more I use it. That's very East Coast tactics, right? You think of the can man. But yeah, it's a thing that it's growing on me. It's definitely not normal procedures in St. Paul, but it's a thing that I've been investigating. All right, let's go to Taylor's hot take.
I would say hose and nozzle matters. Your attack package.
Okay.
Coupling the right hose with the right nozzle with a competent engineer to know what to pump that at. I think in a lot of instances, guys, they were taught one way to do it. I know a lot of people that love that preset button on the engine. Hey, this is where we pump it. I don't know how much that is. I was told it was this, but I've never investigated to see if it actually is. There's a huge debate, smoothbore or fog. I think there's a right answer, but I'm opinionated on that. And I would say a lot of people maybe in my department don't agree with that.
Sounds like a hot take. Sounds like a secondary hot take.
It is.
Yeah, I think you're right in that. I think that the hose and nozzle thing is the next layer deep in the fire service, right? Like understanding that you have a hose and nozzle and you can deploy it this way is one thing, but then the next layer deep is going, well, what hose is it? What's the actual diameter? What is the actual flow rate? What's the actual friction loss? What is the GPM? That is the next layer of conversation, which is a really good conversation that if you're not having it, somebody in your fire department should be, right? That's the thing that I'm often spouting is like, it's okay for not everyone to know this, but somebody needs to know this to make a decision. And if you aren't the person that knows it, then get out of the way for the people that do. Because I think that we've also, at least in my experience, I've run into people that have very big opinions, but then when you say, well, why do you feel that way? They don't have, it's a lot of emotionally driven decision-making. Well, this is this and this is that versus what are the actual numbers? Why does anyone believe that? The further I progress in my fire service career, the more I realize that if we're not asking questions, we are doing a lot of stuff that's just based on anecdotes and myths. There's a lot. The fire service is like ripe for myths and anecdotes and like somebody had this one experience one time and now we do this. And nobody wants to say, wait, why do we do that? Because everyone's just like, well, that's how I was shown. And so we need some people that are willing to like shake the cage a little bit and ask why. And that the answer comes back to what you really said, which is hose and nozzles really do matter. There's a very big difference between 80 GPM and 160 GPM or whatever that number might be, or nozzle reaction for that matter, if we're thinking about hose and nozzle specifically. But yeah, you're speaking my language. And that's the thing I have to be careful with, especially on the show, is we will have a massive drop off in viewership if I start talking about hydraulics. Right? No, nobody wants to hear. Maybe there's a small subsect of like-minded individuals that are willing to talk about friction loss and nozzle reaction numbers, but it's definitely not for everyone, and that's okay. Oh no, Taylor's dead.
Yep,
he's back.
There he is.
Hey, we were worried about you.
that was about bad news there.
That's okay. We thought maybe a meteor hit your home or something. I don't know. That's okay.
Somebody got mad about your hose and nozzle selection comment.
Yeah. I was agreeing with him.
For me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. You're. So let's go into that conversation quick. Like here's where we can ruffle some feathers. So I'm going to make a guess based on the knowledge that I'm heavily inferring you have, that you are probably a smoothbore man. Would that be true?
That would be my preference.
Yeah. And I'm inferring once again, based on your comments, that you maybe are in close proximity with some people that maybe disagree with that.
Yeah.
Are those people fascinated or fixated on the automatic nature or the combination nature?
So here's the beauty of it. We run both, and nobody's really chosen one or the other.
Whoa.
But they pump them all the same.
Whoa. Okay. One sec. Let's slam on the brakes quick. So you, okay. Are you running a low pressure fog?
No. Okay. So most of what we run, most of what we run is a Sabre jet. So it's technically a low pressure nozzle, but it has both functions. The orifice, when you go pull all the way back, it's, gosh, I don't remember what it was. It's somewhere between 1/2 and 7/8. It's not a true 7/8.
Yeah.
You're not getting a full 160 unless you over pump it, and then your nozzle reaction is so high that it's hard to hold on to. But we do have some. I know we've got selectable
that's old
gallonage
school
as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the struggles that I guess I have, internally is, where do you go with this? We've got such a mix. This is kind of the project. I know a little bit about your project that you're working on in St. Paul there. We're very similar. We had a whole mix of hose. It was different manufacturers. It was, different true diameters. It was all over the place. We went to try and standardize it and got a lot of pushback on it. The new hose doesn't pack the same. The new hose doesn't handle the same. Great. Now all of our lines are color coded because our pump panel is color coded. So, hey, let's shut down the red hose line because we used to just have colored duct tape on the bail handle. And, after you drag that thing through a few fires, that red duct tape starts to look a little gray or orange. And so trying to standardize across the board, it's going to be like steering a battleship. It's going to take a long time to try and make this ultimate shift. But that's the road we're kind of on. So I think we've kind of standardized our hose. We actually brought John up to our department to help explain, right? Because I think you can't be a prophet in your own land. Some people just weren't going to listen to basically Nolan and I, who really have gone down the path of trying to figure out what's best, present the numbers, the data, so we can try to leave emotion at the door. But some people they're emotionally tied to something. Some of it's accidental success. I know one firefighter said, I'll never not go into a building without a fog nozzle because it saved my life one time. It truly was accidental success, but he's emotional about that, and I can't change his mind on it. I can show him data, but he doesn't want to listen to it.
Ironically, that is the exact circumstance that I find myself in with my current captain. He's brilliant. He's one of my favorite captains I've ever worked for. He's been in the fire service 29 years, but in his first couple of years of his life, he had a true like near miss where he went into like a near flashover room and opened up his left for life fog. And he genuinely, to the core of his being, believes it saved his life. And it did, because he's not dead, but also that doesn't, like, correlation is not causation. We've had this conversation, and like I said, I respect the hell out of him. He's awesome. He's amazing. But that one core tenet of his fire service career is just like built off of information that's not perfectly accurate. It's just similar to accurate, I would say.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you're ever going to do to convince that person. A conversation I've had with him was like, I just want you to understand that if you would have had a smoothbore and you did the same thing, the same result would have happened. And then now we'd be arguing. If I was trying to switch to a fog system, you'd say, I'll never wear using a fog because I opened that smoothbore that day and it saved my life. And that's the only line that, you know what I mean? You just have to recognize that it's a emotionally driven decision, and you're never going to crack that egg. It is what it is. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and it's ironic. Like, you say you can't be a prophet of your own lands. John fought a hell of an uphill battle in St. Paul, and it's because he has all the data and he goes across the country consulting and helping people build these attack packages. But in our own backyard, we were having a hard time like making some of these happen. Thank God, it's all happening now. And we have thousands and thousands of feet of new hose and all the new nozzles for the whole department, and we are going to make that like. On one day, we are an automatic fog nozzle department with this horrible hose. And the next day, we're going to have beautiful key hose combat sniper with, 7/8 Elkharts on it. And, life will be good. But that change is very hard. And it's going to take me 4.5 months to get through teaching everyone how to make that change. And so, especially if you think about doing that on the volunteer side, it is a massive undertaking to change the culture and change the knowledge base to be able to change it. But it's such a weird debate, man. People are really dug in, like, and it's all Lloyd Layman's fault, and I blame him forever. But it's What are you guys using Moorhead?
So we have Combat Ready, and then we use Elkhart 7/8, but we also have one of our crosslays on the truck has a low pressure combination nozzle, one of the Elkhart Chief XD.
There you go. Okay. That was a debate that was heavily debated in our committee, like in our hose committee. Ultimately, what we went with was crosslays with smoothbore, our skid loader, our 2.5 in a bundle having the smoothbore, and then our bumper lines will have the old automatic fogs for like exterior firefighting. But anything that's
kind of how we have it too. Like, we have just the old shitty hose as a bumper line with combination nozzle on it. So we don't necessarily pump that bumper line quite right, but typically, when you're using it for a car fire or dumpster fire, like, it's not as big of a deal.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. And that's really where we landed. Well, because the reality was, if you're pumping a 150 GPM at 100 PSI automatic, you cannot have it's not a debate. It's not anyone's opinion. You cannot have a manageable nozzle reaction to achieve those numbers. It's not possible. Yep. And so what they do to combat it, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but for anyone that doesn't know, what you do to combat that is you gate down. And so you're either gating down at the nozzle or you're gating down at the pump panel. And when you do that, you're not just losing pressure, you're also losing flow. So now you went from your nozzle that was supposed to be 150 GPM to now you're flowing 100, or in a lot of cases in St. Paul, we were flowing 90, and you're like, we had a nozzle that we tested, because we flow tested a lot in this process, that we had to have a pump discharge pressure over 200 GPM in order to make 150 GPM or 100 over 200 PSI, like 217 PSI to get 150 GPM out of our automatics. And obviously it's like trying to like wrangle an anaconda. You can't but so, if we want to have appropriate fire flow, you cannot have an automatic fog nozzle that's of high pressure. You can't. Like, It's just like, it's not like, once again, it's not a debate. It is just the pure numbers. And so people don't even know what they're going to get into with these out carts. Some of the people that haven't experienced it, it's like, hey, you want to flow like 40% more water and have it be more manageable? That's a crazy thing, right? And so, yeah, people are going to be drooling, I think, especially once we get into live fires and they see these fires going out like, in a third of the time. It's going to be crazy. And I'm super hyped. I'm super hyped to be part of the process. But it's been 2.5 years we've been working on it. I started rewriting the hose and nozzle SOP 2.5 years ago in St. Paul. And we're finally going to bring it to fruition in November or so. Crazy. So
good for you.
Yep. Like Ike says, Ike once told me, 10 pounds of pressure 100% of the time. That's how you make change in an organization. So, you have to just keep the foot just lightly on the gas. And if you keep trending towards the right direction, you can make a lot of change in even a big organization. So as we start to kind of get to the end, actually, I'm going to take a sidebar just because this is a perfect chance for me to have a really random conversation with you. I had a conversation the other day, and have no idea where this is going. I promise. I just finished a big rant, so now I'm going to just completely segue into some nonsense. Okay.
Awesome.
So this is some real Firehouse shit, like some crazy non sequitur. Okay. You guys are familiar with owls, right? Like the bird.
Yeah.
Okay. So like if you went for a walk and you saw an owl, you'd be like, oh, wow, an owl. That's crazy. Right. And then if you like kept walking and you saw another owl, you would be like, whoa, 2 owls in one walk. That's super bizarre. How many owls would you have to see before you started to believe it was some sort of conspiracy?
Ooh. 10?
If this isn't the epitome of a stupid Firehouse conversation, we were having this conversation the other day. Any thoughts?
10? I don't know. I mean,
10 owls? At 9, you're not getting suspicious?
We started to get suspicious at 5, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, man, you see 1 owl, that's pretty peculiar. 5 owls. I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, this is another part of the conversation. So you have identified that you think it's kind of bizarre, right? So say like, oh man, we've hit 10 owls. This is not okay. What does your mind go to in terms of why? Why has this happened?
I don't know. Are there a lot of rabbits around?
Okay, so you're thinking environmental.
Food source? Yeah.
Okay, that's a very northern Minnesota way to think, like very outdoor. See, my city brain goes government conspiracy immediately. and then I've also heard the occult. Like someone was like, well, probably like Satan or something. I don't know. What do you think, Austin? Why is there 10 owls on my walk?
I kind of lean towards Taylor's answer, like food or just.
I think that's because people from the north are smarter than us city folk. You guys are like, well, there's probably just like a bunch of rabbits that were just born or something. They're migrating through. Where I'm like, obviously the government's watching us. Birds aren't real.
Big city, I can definitely see that where your mind goes. Like, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
What's on these things?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you ever seen that like birds aren't real conspiracy? It's the stupidest thing. It's so funny, but it's man, you start hanging out in the city long enough, dog. You might start believing it. All right. Well, now I've wasted your time for sure. So for anyone that hasn't been in a firehouse, that conversation is about 18 hours a day. At least where I've always worked. Someone has some like, would you rather, or if you had to situation, and then everyone just talks about that until the next call. Which is one of my favorite things about the fire service is these stupid conversations that we have to pass the time. It was back in the day, my first, 50 episodes. We used to do a stupid question like that every episode. That was kind of the tagline of the show. And then we went away from that in season 2 because I ran out of questions. But now maybe I'm bringing it back. I don't know, because they're popping up again. We're getting really back to the heart of the show here. wasting people's time with dumb conversations. All right, dudes. I don't want to steal you all day. Tell the people where they can find more information about the conference and how they can get signed up to go.
You can find Heart of the Lakes Fire Summit on Facebook and Instagram. The links are there. Our email's there if you have any questions. That's probably the best way to find us, because it might take a little while going through the Fire Nuggets website to try to find out where it is. So Facebook and Instagram would be the best place to find the conference information, registration link, all that stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll be there. Not that I think that matters. That doesn't add a ton of value to the conference, but I will be there. Right. So I'll be there as a student in soaking things up from all these awesome instructors. And I can't, it's a very much a highlight on my calendar as I look into the fall. So thanks for bringing awesome fire training into the state of Minnesota. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate you coming up. We're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you.